Let's talk pre-production. This is the most important and very often forgotten step in the filmmaking process. There's nothing wrong with winging it when you need to. Trust me, I do it and all sorts of filmmakers do it all the time. But if you're not planning ahead when you have the time and the luxury to do so, you're absolutely going to come up with a lesser result than if you would have just done your pre-production homework in the first place. You must have a vision for the project. Draw it out, write it down, however your brain works, have a vision ahead of time. Let it simmer, let it cook. When you're producing and planning your shots, ask yourself, what do you want to shoot? Exactly what visuals are crucial? How are you going to capture those visuals? Why do you want to shoot those visuals? What emotions do you want your audience to walk away with after viewing your video? How do you want them to feel? Those are the kinds of questions you should be starting your pre-production meetings with and asking yourself, how am I going to capture all these things, and figuring it out. If at all possible, go out and location scout. Check out the areas, get a feel for the geography and the geometry of the area, figure out ideal spots to shoot in, etc., etc. Use resources like Google Earth or Google Maps to examine locations if you can't make it in person. I've done that tons of times. Apps similar to Sun Surveyor or Sunseeker on iOS, I'm sure there's other equivalents for Android as well, they're also super useful in figuring out your light ahead of time. Always check the weather. It's a given, but I forget it a lot. Example questions to ask yourself could be like, what locations are you going to shoot in? Is the space big enough to film 360 video content in? Are you going to have enough battery to last your whole shoot? If not, do you have a way to charge batteries? Do you have extra batteries? Do you have a USB battery you're going to charge while you're there? Are there outlets where you're shooting? Will you have enough time to charge batteries in between shots? Do you have any needed permits in order? Is the ground level, or will you need to bring ways to prop up the stand? Asking questions like all these will prepare you for whatever comes your way when you're shooting. These are not obviously every single question you should ask yourself, but ask them similarly and think ahead. Think through the day as if you're going through it. The less time you have to spend on problem solving small logistical issues while you're on set, the more time you can invest in the creative process. Plan, plan, plan. I can't say that enough. Usually with 360 video, you can't cut from shot to shot as quickly or rapidly as you can with two-dimensional video. 360 video is a lot to take in as a viewer, and you want to give the viewer enough time to absorb their surroundings. It needs to be immersive. For example, on a 2-minute long video, you may not have as many shots in it as you would think you would. In general, I think it would be a good rule of thumb to stay on one 360 shot for anywhere from about 7 to 12 seconds. Every rule of thumb can of course be broken, but I like to use this as a guide so I know about how many shots I have to tell the story that I'm trying to tell. So doing the math, a 2-minute video would consist of, on average, 12 shots, roughly. This is the ultimate test in storytelling in a way, because you are forced to prune and whittle things down to their most basic and crucial elements. Since you can't have 100 shots per 3-minute video, for example, you want to have as much information in one shot as possible. Make sure your shots are full of things to look at, or make sure the one thing you want your audience to notice in that 360-degree space is easy to find. All in all, if you're asking and answering these kinds of important questions that I talked about, the decisions you'll have to make when you're shooting will be easier and more straightforward. All of these rules can and of course should be broken. That's what makes things exciting and innovative. However, I strongly believe one cannot effectively or creatively break rules without first understanding them. First understand, then bend, break, and mix.